The opportunity to take part in this debate, and I welcome that the Minister is here. And this committee was set up specifically, and I welcome the Senator and the report. And I note here that he points out that the committee held 10 public meetings thus far which have looked at this issue. The summer programme, he points out, has arisen consistently as a major issue and a source of frustration for autistic people and their families in many of these meetings. And that is our experience as TDs, and indeed I'd say as senators as well. He talks about the powerful contribution at those meetings. But the important thing is highlighted the urgent need for action to ensure that no autistic child is left without a place in their local area in the summer programme of 2023. The summer programme that was the July provision that came into being because a family had to take the state into the courts to get that established. And it's important to remember that. So that's the forward. That committee then felt it was also very important that there would be a debate here in the Chamber, and it requested that the issues raised in the report and its recommendations be the subject of a debate and action in both houses of the Autism, and that's what's happening. But the background to this is the committee had to ensure that this would happen, and those on the ground struggling to cope with various levels of abilities in their various children had to put pressure on the committee to ensure that would happen. So we have to keep that in mind all the time when I stand up here and read from reports. So what were the key issues raised? Again, for the record, the key issues were regression over the summer holiday period. Extremely important to point out that somebody with serious disabilities needs ongoing attendance at different types of school venues. And when summer provision fails them, then there is regression, something very, very upsetting. The strain on carers and families, delays in schools confirming participation in the summer programme, the expansion of the cohort to whom the summer programme is available and targeting the pupils most in need. Again, the expansion of the programme, which I come back to before I finish, has allowed for those most in need, for their needs not to be met with the expansion that was carried out. And it's very important that we say this and we look at it. The staffing for the summer programme, which has been a continuous problem, the need for incentives for teachers and special needs assistants to participate in the programme, the time allocation for schools to arrange the summer programme, the refusal of some schools to provide the summer programme, funding and the allocation of funding. And all that these issues then were teased out. And to put some meat on that from a human perspective, the witnesses heard, as the Chair has outlined, powerful contributions from various groups and individuals came forward. Let me quote Miss Miriam Jennings. The first thing I would say is that I think everybody here is a very reluctant advocate. We certainly would not choose to be here, but we come here because of our lived experience. And she goes on to say, we believe, however, that our children's need for a school-based summer programme was not safeguarded. Now that's very important because it was set up for a particular group of people with a particular disabilities, and then when it was expanded, that group lost out. Now, that's very important that we highlight that and to confirm that that's not going to happen. No plan was put in place to ensure that complex needs children for whom the scheme was set up would access it. And she goes on to give the figures in relation to that. Witnesses also expressed their views, because you've mentioned, Minister, home-based tuition. And while that may well be positive for some families, let me quote what the witnesses said in relation to that. Witnesses also expressed their views on the provision of home-based tuition rather than an in-school summer programme. Representatives were united, stating that the home-based programme falls considerably short of what is required by children with complex needs. At the same meeting, Ms. Sarah Murphy of Special Needs Schools and Classes said, the department states all the time that one can get a home-based tutor if they cannot get the July provision in school. However, there is so much about being in school, such as getting on a bus, and all the minutiae of life that is important to people, both children and adults, who do not really understand because they do not have the intellectual capacity. We build this life for them that they can enjoy and that they can progress in but we have to do it within the boundaries of what works. So introducing lots of, I've just missed the last part, but the point has been made by them that when we trot out homeschool, it is not the answer for a substantive number of children with special needs. The conclusion, the brief interim report, and of course it's an interim report and the committee will continue on with their work as I understand, but the reason for the bringing out the interim report is because of the concerns of all of the members of that committee that everything be put in place for this summer so that we learn from what's gone on from the last number of years. And I appreciate the efforts of the department and the minister in relation to reviews, but they really haven't got to grips with the problem that the programme was extended beyond the remit of who it was there for based on a legal case. So I'm delighted if you can extend the programme for other deserving cases, but we mustn't lose sight of the necessity of it for children with complex needs. The conclusion, this brief interim report provides an outline of the rationale behind the action taken by the Joint Committee on Autism in adopting this resolution. The basis for this short report is the urgency of the situation in respect of the summer programme, which is referenced in the opening lines. And this report draws on the work of the Joint Committee on Autism and the contributions of the witnesses to its work. Moreover, it identifies the origins of the summer programme and its essential importance for autistic children and their families. Recommendations, and this, Minister, you might conclude in your concluding remarks. 8 recommendations. How many have been taken on board? I didn't have your written speech in front of me, and I might have been in a better position to identify which ones. I know you've talked about a liaison officer, and that would seem to be progress on one of the recommendations here. Again, in the few minutes left, it's important to put the recommendations on record. That notwithstanding the positive aspects of expanding the cohort of pupils that may participate in the summer programme, priority access to a schools-based summer programme be given to those with conditions which place them most at risk of regression. Number 2, that the department establishes a dedicated liaison team to provide information and assistance to school boards of management. That the Department of Education liaises closely with the boards of management. That the Department of Education establish a protocol whereby the resources can be pooled of the schools. That the department engages with the relevant teachers and special needs assistant trade unions to identify and resolve any pay anomalies and any delays in making payment to staff. It seems a most basic requirement, a necessity that staff would get paid on time. That the Department of Education expands, very important and significant, the range of professions that may participate in the summer programme to include child psychologists, speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, early child workers, and particularly important that jumped out at me, third-level students in the final 2 years of their programme in education, psychology, therapy, such as occupational therapy, speech and language, nursing and medicine. That the Department of Education engage with the relevant regulators for the above-named professions and advise them of the opportunities to participate in the summer programme. And the final recommendation, that the department, in conjunction with the Garda National Vetting Bureau, resolve any difficulties with vetted staff working in different schools to provide the summer programme while prioritising the safety of children and vulnerable persons. And I will conclude by saying this is the time to get it right. This is an interim report pending a fuller report, clear recommendations, clear conclusions, clear identification of the issues on the back of families who are struggling heroically to raise children as normally as possible with a complex range of disabilities. We have the money, we have the expertise, and we have families who are absolutely appealing to us to do it right this year. Margaret.